Hey, what's going on? I'm Quis here at Sports Vibes TV, and this is the Knicks pregame report. I'm joined by a member of the SVTV family, Jonathan JD. You guys are going to see him a lot more frequently on the channel. He's got some pretty good Knicks views as well as other views. So, Jonathan, how's everything?
Everything's good, man. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, you excited for this game? The Knicks right now, we could be on a 3-game winning streak. You saw how excited I was when we had a 2-game winning streak. Imagine if we beat the Hawks, bro.
Yeah. You were pretty excited about that 2-game winning streak.
Hey, it's not just the 2-game winning streak. We got a player, we got a all-star potentially on the team, potential rookie of the year. Things are percolating, as Clyde says.
and as you're saying, that is a reason why I am extremely excited about tonight's game. There's a lot building here, and this is an exciting team they're playing, and it's at the Garden. And so I think this is a game that a lot of Knicks fans are looking forward to. It's Monday, starting the week off right.
Holiday
Um,
Monday.
yeah. So it's Monday is not a great day for everyone, but we got Knicks tonight. So hopefully we get off to a fast start and we can pull off the victory.
Yeah, get to a fast start tonight and get to a great start for the week. So, in order for this team to win, I just want to touch on some of the keys to the game. Now, I've seen this team with Derrick Rose for the past 3 games, and to me, it's clear that this team is going to go as far as IQ and Derrick Rose takes them. I think the fan base as a whole can agree that Alfred Payton is not the answer, but because he's still going to start, I'm expecting IQ and Derrick Rose to be that engine. Once they come in, things just flip and you start to see this team really pick up. I think we saw it a lot in that last game where, the second unit came in, it was like a single digit lead and then instantly out of nowhere ballooned to a double digit lead. So if we can have that same level of performance, that same level of production tonight against the Hawks, I think we should be good. I mean, there's a stat going around saying Rose and IQ together have outscored opposing teams by 42 points. And this is only in 59 minutes. So you can see they have a lot of offensive firepower between the two, and they're going to will us to any kind of success or victory tonight. What about you, JD? What do you think your keys are?
Piggybacking off, what you just said, the Knicks bench is one of my keys to the game. In terms of it's a strength of the team. And since Rose has been here, that's been 3 straight games that the bench has played well. So they are developing something that Tom Thibodeau likes to say: consistency. And so that's a key to the game. Them being able to, on both sides, Hawks being able to contain the Knicks bench, and the Knicks bench being continuing to play well. Another key to the game for me is the Hawks are second in the NBA in free throw attempts. Trey Young leads the team in free throw attempts, and Trey Young has been getting to the line a lot over the last 3 games against the Knicks. And so that's something to watch because they also not only get to the free throw line, they make their free throws. They're sixth in the NBA in free throw percentage at 81.7%. And the Knicks are sixth in the NBA in fouls per game. So this is going to be something to watch. The Knicks are going to have to play defense with their feet, as Clyde says, not their hands. And so I think this will be one of the key elements to the game. And lastly, for me, the Hawks are a good rebounding team. They're fifth in the NBA in rebounds per game. And remember, we don't have no Mitchell Robinson. So the Knicks will have to get on the boards and they'll have to limit second chance opportunities for this Hawks team that is desperate for a win.
Yeah, I feel you. And the fact that you bring up Mitchell Robinson is, to me, probably one of my biggest, if not the biggest, concern for the game. Because as you say, rebounding may be an issue or will be an issue when we're dealing with Clint Capella and a John Collins. But not outside of just the rebound. And also, I think we've seen without Mitchell Robinson at times, teams are still able to get some open looks in the paint. So, I know Nerlens Noel is a shot blocker, but even with his ability to block shots, teams are getting some good looks in and around the cup. So my biggest issue is going to be that interior defense. what are we going to do when Trey Young is running that pick and roll, getting mismatches, and then trying to get into the paint? Are we going to have enough defensive integrity to not allow them to really go on a scoring spree? And that's really something that the Knicks are going to have to pay great attention to. And I think Tibbs, being a defensive minded coach, he's going to put the team in the right position to guard Trey. It's all going to fall down to the players. One thing defensively, I might kill Tibbs sometimes with his rotations, but I can't really fault him with what he's doing with the team defensively. On offense, I could beef with him a little bit, but the way he has his team performing on defense, you have to be happy and you have to be proud of the Knicks. So I want them to go out there and work as a team, work as a unit to prevent this team from getting into the paint and scoring easy baskets.
Yeah, and I mean, there's been a lot of talk about, speculation on will the Knicks make a move to kind of add some depth at that position, being that Mitchell Robinson is going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. But as a Knicks fan, you know, I'm not so sure that they'll make a move, being that, like as you mentioned, Tibbs' defensive system and his schemes, his preparation, the players that they have now, they might be able to get through this 4 to 6 week stretch. Because who can you really add right now that you can just plug in and that Tibbs will trust to plug in? Because that's another element to the Knicks is not just saying let's get this player, is who is Tibbs comfortable in getting for him to actually play. As you see, as we all know, Tibbs is very tight with his minutes distribution. And when you look at the rotation now with Noel, with Taj Gibson, Julius Randle as well, and he's continuing to play Obi a little bit more, the Knicks might actually have enough just to get through this stretch and get Mitch back and back into the flow of things. So this is going to be interesting. This is a time that I think Julius Randle has to step up as our All Star, and so that's what I'm looking forward to. He's gonna make it. He's gonna make it.
Me, I always got to crack jokes on Julius Randle. He's doing his thing out there. I voted for him. If you haven't voted for him yet, make sure you guys do that out on Twitter. If you haven't followed the channel yet, make sure you check us out on Sports Vibes TV. We're on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can reach out to us on any one of those platforms. So, JD, would you echo the same concern I have with interior D being the biggest concern, or would you say you have other concerns outside of just defensive intensity and guarding the paint?
I mean, yes, that is definitely a concern. Being that when you look at the players that they have Capella, they have John Collins, and so Noel being a lightweighted person, if he gets in foul trouble, Capella might cause havoc in the paint. He's a shot blocker as well, so he offers the Hawks interior rim protection. So and again, they're a great rebounding team. So the recipe is there for them to control the paint if we don't step up on the interior. For me, the biggest concern for me in terms of the game is Trey Young. When you consider that he's played well against the Knicks, his last 4 games individually, he scored 31 points, 42 points, 48 points, and 42 points.
Mm.
And so he's had big games. This is a game at the Garden. I know there's no fans, but it's the arena still has cachet. And so, last game he wasn't so efficient. He shot 9 for 22 from the field. He was 1 for 6 from 3. So I will take that again in terms of efficiency. But when you look at the way the Hawks are reeling right now, this is a big game for them. And so, I think that, as he is their best player, he is a concern for me. If we can contain him somehow and we can just have him be inefficient, even if he scores 30 points again, I think that's something the Knicks will take. But he is definitely a concern for me.
Yeah, as he should with any team going against the Atlanta Hawks. Trey Young has been a force in Atlanta, even though things have been rocky. And if you're looking at this Atlanta Hawks team and you're looking at this game tonight and you're wondering what matchups and what players you should be looking at to see if the Knicks can win that matchup, the matchup I'm looking at is the Hawks versus themselves right now because rumors are swirling where there's some internal strife between Trey Young and both John Collins. And then you're also hearing reports that, Rajon Rondo was a bad signing. That's the view from the team, at least. It was a failed signing. And when you look at the moves they made and the record that they have, they're definitely a team I feel like that's playing below their talent level. And if you compare that to the Knicks, I think anybody that watches the Knicks would say that the Knicks are clearly playing above their talent level. And I feel like that's why this game is going to be as competitive as it should be and as close as it should be because the Knicks, although if you compare the roster, player to player, you would say, yeah, the Atlanta Hawks are more talented, but the Knicks right now are playing more cohesively as a unit. And that's why I think Knicks fans should go into this game feeling confident, not cocky, because Trey Young, because at any moment go off of 40 and we're stuck like, damn, what are we going to do? So we should be confident that the Knicks should go in with a pretty good opportunity to win. And as long as we hit a few, baselines, a few figures, we should be good to go. What are some matchups or some players you're keeping your eye on, JD?
Well, I see you're confident about tonight's game,
As I
and
should.
as you should.
As you
Most,
should. We're
yeah.
going to be out there doing our thing, bro. Watch.
uh, First, how surprised isn't this surprising? How man, when they had this off season and they signed Gallinari and Bogan Bogdanovich, a
Called
lot
him
of
Bogey.
teams, a lot of teams, man, a lot of teams had them as a contender in the East, and it's there is trouble in Atlanta. You know, before I say that my play of the game, kind of going off what you're saying in terms of what's going on there and the rumblings um, about the disconnect. There's an interesting quote that Trey Young had recently after their last loss, and I just want to read it out because I think it speaks to what's going on. He said, "We're getting guys in and out. We're mixing guys in. We just kind of went out there and just tried to play with effort. We just got to figure out how to close better and kind of learn on the fly." And this is the interesting quote here. I just think a lot of teams are throwing things at us that we're not prepared for right now. Keith, where do you think that last quote? Who do you think he's talking to right there?
That right there is an indictment on the coaching staff. If you're saying teams are throwing things at you, throwing looks at you, and you're not prepared to adjust or you're not prepared to make the right plays off of that, then that means you're not being coached up the right way. And I don't think if you look at the Knicks and our coaching staff, I don't think there's been a moment where you can say the Knicks didn't know what to do. It was like even when teams are throwing 2-3 zones at us, it's not like the Knicks didn't know what to do. It was the fact that we didn't have the talent in order to really break down that 2-3 zone and feast against other teams. So to hear Trey Young say that when they have talent up and down that roster, I mean, you can go through it. You already met you called them bogey. You got Gallo, you got Trey, you got Cam Reddish, you got Capella, Collins. That team is loaded with talent. It's just like I said in my point, they're playing below their talent level, and I'm gonna hope that the Knicks continue to play above. But that was a great great quote. I'll pass it back to you. I think I'm taking up too much of your time as is.
No, 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 and that's great feedback there. And it's funny because when you hear those quotes from a star player like that, guess what's happening on this side? You don't hear that here, right? We have a coach here that's building stability, that's building consistency, that's building this culture that we've been talking about here. So, while it's really in Atlanta, it also kind of signals to me that we're moving in the right direction, because these are not the things that you're hearing here. And that's all. And when you look more into detail, I think that's one of the reasons why Tibbs has also managed the team and the season the way that he has, is to create that kind of consistency that looks like the Hawks are missing internally and in the locker room. Just to even highlight how mind-boggling their recent play has been, Keith, if I told you that if in tonight's game, Clint Capella will have 24 points and 10 rebounds, Danilo Gallinari will have 20 points and 7 rebounds, Cam Reddish will have 18 points, Trae Young will be limited to 15 points, but guess what? He's going to dish out 14 assists, and Kevin Huerter is going to have a double-double. The Knicks winning that game? You think the Knicks win that game with those numbers?
Well, I hear the Knicks question, but what jumped out to me was the fact that Cam Reddish had 18 points, and I needed every single one of those buckets this week in fantasy. So shout out to him. I hope he goes out and drops 20 again, and they lose by 20. But the fact that you're asking me that question, I would have to assume that they lost that game, right? If you're gonna bring that up right now and say that they played so well, right? Because the numbers you put out to me, some of them were jaw dropping. You said what, 15 and 14 for Trae?
Yep, that's correct.
Yeah,
24 and 10 for Capella, 20 and
yeah.
7 from Gallo, 18 from a young player like Cam Reddish.
So you're gonna tell me they lost?
Kevin Huerter, a shooting guard, a double-double with 10 rebounds. And guess what? They lost. They lost that
And
game. And it was their last game. They lost to the Pacers. And those are real numbers, real stats, real performances. And they still lost the game.
JD, just to
So
interrupt you real quick, what was that final score? Because that sounded like a track meet.
I actually don't know what was the final score.
All right, continue. I'll look it up. Don't worry.
Yeah,
Get your point off.
I don't. It was yeah, I don't know what was the final score. I'm sure you can look it up right now.
It
But
must have been a lot to a lot. The fact that everybody's in double figures and you
yeah,
still catching the L.
yeah, it was 125 to 113.
See, yeah, that's a track meet.
125 to 113. And so this is how mind-boggling it is, and this is also something to watch in terms of potential changes in Atlanta. And
So you
in
think
terms of my player of the game to watch, listen, I'm looking at RJ Barrett. I'm looking at RJ Barrett tonight, and so he's had uh, some struggles lately. Last 3 to 4 games, he's been struggling. However, this is a favorable matchup for him in terms of career against the Hawks. His last game is against the Hawks. He had 26 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, 0 turnovers. It was very efficient from the field. And so he's averaging 21 points and 6 rebounds. He's shooting 59% in 4 career games against the Hawks. And so when I look at that and I look at, him struggling recently, it's one of those things in the NBA where you're just due. You're just due for a bounce back game. And so, I'm looking for him to play well. Last game, I saw a lot of the film. He was matched up individually with DeAndre Hunter and mostly Cam Reddish, and Cam Reddish is a talented defender. And so, from a matchup standpoint, he played well last game, and I'm hoping and I'm looking for him to play well tonight. He is a player for me to watch. In terms of a matchup from the team, I think the Hawks are looking to contain the Knicks bench. That's probably their biggest matchup in terms of their locker room and their analysis and their strategy against the Knicks. They're probably looking at it. Listen, man, when that second unit comes in, we got to weather that storm. And so those are my 2 matchups from a team standpoint from the Hawks containing the Knicks second unit. From a player standpoint, for us Knicks fans, we should be looking to see what RJ Barrett does tonight, because I feel like he has favorable numbers, career numbers against the Hawks, and he's been struggling. If he has a bad game tonight, I think now we can look to this as a real slump and maybe some cause for concern. His minutes have been dipping a little bit.
A little
There are
bit.
some rumblings that he may be dealing with something in his knee. I haven't heard that in terms of like reports, but social media and people saying that his knee has been taped up and he's dealing with some stuff. So I don't know if this is something that's going to come out if he continues to struggle. But RJ Barrett is a player for me to watch tonight.
So it sounds like you're expecting a big game from RJ.
I'm expecting RJ to eclipse 20 points. I'm
So
not, I'm not expecting a superstar game, but I would look for 21, 20 points. Get me 6 rebounds, and let's shoot about 48% from the field at least. Let's go with that. 1-3. With RJ, I don't look for him to have many 3-point shots, but he's gonna have the shots. Teams are leaving him open. So, take 3 shots, make 1 or 3. I'll live with that.
all right. So would you double down and say this is also a big game for the Knicks? So I hear you. You think this is a big game for RJ, and I would agree with you as well. His minutes have gone down drastically since the acquisition of a Derrick Rose. It's crazy. I was here worried about IQ minutes getting reduced with the addition of Derrick Rose, and somehow it's RJ that's the one that's being negatively affected. You know, who would have entered the season and say, yeah, we're going to trade for D Rose and it's going to impact RJ negatively and it's going to buoy Obi and IQ. I would have never guessed it. But if you think it's going to be a big game for RJ, do you also want to double down and think and say this is going to be a big game for the Knicks as well?
This is a big game for the Knicks. This is a big game for the Hawks. This is a big game all around. And I think that adds to the excitement of the game, being that, from the Hawks end, they've lost 6 of their last 7 games. They're starting a road trip. The Knicks are the first game of a 3-game road trip. They play Boston after us in back-to-back matchups. And then they come back home and they play the Nuggets. So they're probably looking at this game as their most winnable game, if you ask me. So if you're looking at this as your most winnable game, this is the first game of a road trip. You have a tough 4-game stretch. You've lost 6 of your last 7, right? You have Trey Young saying these quotes, a lot of rumors going around. This is a big game for the Hawks. And so, at the end of the day, we're analyzing the game. We're throwing statistics here and there, but on pure emotion and effort, they're going to come out. They're going to come out playing hard tonight. And so, the Knicks have to be ready. On the Knicks end, it's a big game is because, we're building something here. There's some excitement level going on. And the Knicks are entering a critical stretch where they're going to play a lot of home games. And so you want to get a lot of these games. You want to kind of build and get to that 500 mark so that you can go on a little run and go a little bit over 500. And so it's a big game for the Knicks as well. If they win tonight, it's also going to be viewed as a good win. Not that the Hawks are the Lakers or the Clippers right now, but because of the talent that they have on that team, and being that we're coming off wins against, the Rockets and who do we play before the Rockets? We just played a team that was
Wizards.
depleted. The Wizards, right? The Wizards and the Rockets, who were depleted with injuries and are not considered great teams. The Hawks are not a great team right now, but this would still be considered a good win. And so for those reasons, it's a big game for me. And I'm excited. I can't wait. What about for you?
Yeah, for
What do you
me,
think?
I agree with you. Definitely think this is going to be a big game for the mere fact that right now is that point in the season where teams are going to make that decision. Are we going to be buyers and are we going to be sellers? Now, I know Tibbs is a win now coach, so you would assume that regardless of what happens tonight, the Knicks are going to still try to be buyers. But with a win tonight, I think it would further entrench us into actual legitimate playoff contention. And if you look at the Knicks' cap space, there's still space under the salary cap floor, I believe, for them to make additional moves. So if we go out and we show that we're competitive enough to beat an Atlanta Hawk team that is, I think, if I'm not mistaken, they're below us in the standings right now. But like I said earlier in the show, talent wise, they got us, if you want to be honest. So if we go out there and we're able to beat them, I think that'll, you know, put some kind of energy into this regime to try to make, I hope not a major move, but just maybe a small move so we could just put Alfred at the end of the bench. If we could do that, if you want to go out and do something cheap like pluck Alonzo from the Pelicans, or something that's not going to cost us a lot in terms of assets and draft capital. If we can make a small minor move like that just to upgrade starting point guard, or even upgrade a 3-and-D wing. If we can do something like that, I think it would be great for us. And I think a win against a pretty decent team in the Atlanta Hawks could, spark a move like that. Like I said, wins are critical right now as we get closer and closer to the trade deadline, and as teams start to position themselves for that final push into the playoffs later on this season. So I think it's a big game. And it's a big game also, like you mentioned, we face two other depleted teams. So the fact that we're going up against a team that's a little bit more together when it comes to not chemistry wise, but when it comes to actual bodies on the court, I think it'll be a good, barometer of where we are in terms of performance.
Yeah, and just like you said, the more wins we pile up, especially if we get on a little run here, the higher the rumblings are going to start to come about in terms of, will the Knicks go for it? Will the Knicks try to make a major move, or will the Knicks try to make, a solid move, as you said? And so we know the names that are out there, and I just think right now, as we're in the middle of February now, we're getting closer and closer to the stretch here, to the trade deadline. you know, Look at the East, look at the parity. You know, uh, in the East right now, you win one game and you're jumping 3-4 spots. And so when you really look at what's going on in the East, there's a lot of teams that are underachieving, and there's a team like the Knicks that's overachieving. And so it'll be interesting to see what the front office um, decides to do as we continue to play here. Obviously, the Knicks will have to get wins and play well in order for that to be a tough decision to make.
Yeah, I hear you. So we both fall under the same umbrella, thinking that this is gonna be a big game. So now I think it's time. It's that part of the show where we have to make our predictions. We got to go out on a
Mm,
line. We got to stick our necks out there, pause, and we gotta say who's gonna win or lose. And if you want to, if you feel bold enough, you can even give us an actual score.
mm.
You bold enough, JD?
I'll give you a score. I'll
Oh,
give you a
all
score.
right. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not bold enough. Honestly, I gave you a ballpark figure.
I mean, yeah, you put me on the spot. Maybe you should go first. But
If
hey,
you want,
my
I'll
first
give you
time
my
here,
prediction.
my first
Yeah.
time here, I'll go first.
All right.
So, prediction time. And yes, I am a Knicks fan, but I think we've laid out today, a lot of the reasons why the Hawks are struggling, and objectively, I really do think the Knicks will win tonight. I like the way the Knicks are going. Derrick Rose has been here for 3 games, and even that Miami game, it was his first game. It was a playoff atmosphere game, and you can make the case the Knicks should have won that game. And so, I have the Knicks winning today, 109 to 101. And so that's my score prediction, 109 to 101. I don't want to get too crazy with the Knicks with the scoring, because the Knicks still are kind of, one of the bottom tier teams in terms of scoring. They're playing better with Rose, so I want to see that develop. And again, my player to watch was RJ, so might as well. RJ's gonna have 21 points. He's gonna have 6 rebounds. And in terms of the bench player, I'm gonna go quickly. Quickly's gonna have 17 tonight, and the Knicks pull off a tough 109-101 victory. What do you think?
Well, I'll put out some uh some triggers. Well, I won't say triggers, but if we hit these milestones, we're gonna win, and I think it'll be easily. So right now, the Hawks are 0-5 in any game in which they fail to reach 100 points. So if we can keep up our defensive intensity and keep them into double digits and not allow them to hit that 100, or what did they score the last game? What did you say? It was 125, 123? Something crazy like that?
125, 111, I believe they
111.
scored.
Yeah, we don't need any kind of game where
125, 113.
so yeah, we don't need any kind of game where the Hawks are out there running and gunning and putting up 113 points. If we can keep them under 100, I would say I would guarantee that we're going to win. If we can do that, easy win in my eyes. And not only
Guarantee.
if we can keep them under 100 points, bro. Up till now they're 0-5. Well, I'm just going with the
Mm,
betting trends. I'm just going with the betting trends. They haven't scored 100, they catch a L. Point
it's a
blank.
nice
Period.
nugget. Okay. Okay.
Not only that, the Hawks, I think, are allowing teams to average 112 points per game. In the game we won a few weeks ago against them, I think we ended up winning with 113 points. So if we can get to 100 some odd points, 113, 110, right around there, I think we're going to be in the clear. And I know some people might watch and say, why does he think the Knicks are going to go out there and score 110, 115 points? Because that's what teams are averaging against the Hawks. And we've already seen an example of the Knicks do it when we beat them the last time, and that was without D Rose. And that was only with Emmanuel Quickly's second game back from injury. So if you add all of those together, I think this could be the perfect storm brewing for the Knicks to punch a decent team in the mouth and kind of put themselves on the map in the Eastern Conference as legitimate teams to stay away from if we were to make it in like the first or the second round of the playoffs.
100% agree with you. And so, you know, I think, like you said, the Knicks, why would the Knicks score that many points? Because they're playing the Hawks. You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean why? They're playing the Hawks. You know how they used to say that with the Knicks? Because they're playing the Knicks. Well, now it's changing because we're playing the Hawks. That's why they're gonna score. And also, on a serious note, just look at the previous game. All you have to do is look at it. The Knicks have had tough games against the Hawks. They've had a couple of overtime games against the Hawks, in terms of their last few games in their individual matchups. So that's why I have it as a 109, 101 tough victory. They'll pull out late in the end. And so I just think, the Knicks bench has outscored opponents by 74 points since Derrick Rose has been here. And they've also outscored opponents, as you mentioned earlier in the show, with IQ and Derrick Rose, together. So I just think the Knicks bench is their is going to be their recipe for them to get a lot of victories here coming up.
Yeah, I fully agree. Like you pointed out the bench. I think we've talked about the bench at least two or three times. The bench is the key
Might be
to
the
this
best in the
team.
NBA.
Hey, say it with your chest. We are the best in the NBA. We got the best second
We,
unit in the NBA. You heard it here first.
well, you know, and so yeah, it's gonna be something to watch. The NBA is gonna take notice here soon if the Knicks start piling up some wins. This bench is something. Rose has really been an asset to this team and to the young players.
Oh, also just for a daily or a weekly pick tracker, Mavs lost again.
Yeah, I was so excited. I was watching that game, and I thought they were gonna blow it, man. I thought they were gonna, I thought the Blazers were gonna blow it. They had a big lead, and the Mavs tied the game with like under a minute to go, I believe, and Dame time pulled it with the three for the Knicks. He didn't do it for the Blazers. He did it for the Knicks.
Facts.
He did it for us.
Yo, it would be a blessing if we able to get into the actual playoffs and then the Mavs are still a lottery pick.
Man, that's the perfect scenario for Knicks fans, man,
Bro,
because If we can make it and have a season where you got a little bit of everything, you got a
Facts.
playoff berth, the young players on your team got playoff experience, and you get a lottery pick, man. Listen, when you got Emmanuel quickly with the 25th pick, I would love a Jalen Suggs, but at this point, you got quickly with the 25th pick. If we get the 14th, the 15th, the 13th, whatever, just put it on the front office. Get me that player. Get me that player. Wherever we land, get me a good player. This draft is hype as a deep draft. And so I'm starting to kind of buy into this theory of let's make the playoffs and let's just see what happens.
Yeah, same here. I was always cool with making the playoffs. I just didn't want to make the playoffs being propelled by a bunch of aging vets. But if we're going to do well, we kind of that's kind of where we are right now. If you want to be honest, if you want to be honest, because Mitch is hurt, RJ ain't playing. The only person getting over 20 minutes a game as a youngin is IQ, and now we're starting to see Tibbs kind of let Obi be himself out there on the court. Like I can only watch Obi shoot threes so many times, bro. What was that game? Was it preseason where he shot like 7 threes? And I'm sitting there like, yo,
Yeah,
why they got this guy chucking threes like this? This is not his game. Get him to go to the basket. And
yeah.
we're seeing him go to the basket in the last 2 games. He's looked a lot more comfortable. We've even seen him in the paint. Like he was posting dudes up. He had the nice little, hook shot. That was lucky. Let's keep it a buck. It was falling
Come
off his
on, come
hand.
on. No, don't do that. Don't do
Bro,
that.
it
Don't
was
do that.
lucky. It was
Nah,
lucky.
don't do that.
Clyde
Come
said
on,
it.
man.
I
That
gotta
kid
say it.
that kid
Bro,
needs confidence, man. That
he
kid needs
need confidence.
confidence.
But see,
Building it too.
when you start making lucky shots, that I think helps build your confidence. Because it's a heat check. Oh, I made it. Oh, it's that type of game. So to have those lucky shots fall in, I think that's part of building your confidence. Because now you feel like you can't miss. You feel me?
That's facts, facts, facts. You're right, and and he's. I think they're going to incorporate the three into his game, no matter you know. We've seen comparisons. Some say Amari, some say Blake, and then some say Sean Marion. And regardless of the comparisons, it's just the game today. And when you look at his measurables, his tools, you know, he's gonna have to become a decent 3-point shooter. I just think that now with Rose, you see him playing a little bit more around the basket. He's calling more plays in the post, and I think he's gonna cut more. He's gonna look for the ball closer to the basket because when he's on the court with Rose, himself, he's gonna have the confidence and the belief that if I cut here, if I, beat my man there, if I get to this spot, Rose is going to find me. And, Rose himself has said it himself that, when he's on the court, he's actively looking for Obi. And we've seen some of those, early results. And even Tibbs in post game shows previously has mentioned that Obi is a guy that he's been impressed with. So I think, the needle's moving and he's trending in the right direction slowly but surely.
Yeah, when I watch games, Obi usually finds himself in the right spots. It's just Alfred Payton or
Your boy
what it
Alfred.
nah, that's not my boy. I disowned him. Disowned him the minute we signed him. You think anybody got
Oh,
an Alfred Payton jersey? You think
Alfred
is that
Payton.
even available for sale?
They may have a Peyton Manning, because of Eli. I don't know about no
Yeah.
Alfred Payton.
I don't think they have any
Uh,
Alfred Payton jerseys for sale.
but but
Not my boy.
let's chill out on him a little bit. He's playing better. He's playing better.
Statistically.
Stat-
Statistically.
So-
Emphasis on statistically. Because when it comes to chemistry on the court and having the ball flow and have the offensive and have the offensive move and look fluid, he's terrible when it comes to that.
Yep,
Yeah.
I agree.
All right, JD, let's wrap it up there. That'll be the end of the pregame report. I'll edit it and have it uploaded so you know the
Okay.
subscribers can check it out and see if they like the show. If they like the show, maybe we can start doing this before every game and have it uploaded maybe by 12 noon. We'll see what
Yeah.
the subscribers say and see what the viewers think.
Let
All
us
right.
know. Let us know. Let us know.
All right. So that's JD. I'm Quis. This is the Knicks pregame report, and we're out.
Stress.